I've been drinking all this lean, I know I need to stop. Hopping out of stolen cars and we shoot chops. Hey.
Good morning there, kings and queens out there watching in YouTube land. This is Josh at Tryin Tech, and today we are doing our 21-day review of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Plus. And like I said, I've had this tablet for a little over 3 weeks now, a little over 21 days, and it came in a few days early, and so far I have been really impressed by this tablet. Coming from the Tab S7, which was in its own right a very good tablet, this is just an even more impressive tablet. Going to the S8 Plus with this one, and it's just been amazing, the increase in performance on this tablet compared to the Tab S7. The unit I'm reviewing here, this is the 8GB model. Has 8GB of RAM and 128 gigabytes of internal storage. It is running a Super AMOLED display at 2800 by 1752 with a 266 ppi pixel per inch, and the display is running at 120 hertz. The main change in this tablet, though, is not so much what's on the outside compared to the previous year's models, but more so what's inside, and this is running with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. This tablet is expandable with a micro SD card up to 1 terabyte. So if you were able to get a 1 terabyte SD card, which for those they're still quite expensive, but you could expand it with 1 terabyte of storage. Now going on to the build and design, the design of the S8 Plus is pretty much the same as the prior year's revision. This here is the Graphite color, which is a new color variant that's come out for this year. I think last year they just had silver and another color, but it was like silver and a dark kind of gray color. This Graphite color, it's kind of like almost like gunmetal. It's like a very dark metallic color. Overall, it doesn't seem to be too bad when it comes to attracting fingerprints. So if you do like to hold your tablet bare hand, if you're a brave soul, unlike me, I like to keep mine in the case most of the time, then it's good to know that this finish shouldn't attract too much fingerprints. As far as the outside, the design roughly remains the same as last year's. It's same weight, same dimensions. So the good news is, if you're coming from the S7 Plus to the S8 Plus, all of your peripherals, cases, tablets, everything like that will still work with this. In my case, I came from the S7 Non-Plus variant, and luckily Samsung threw in a keyboard with the pre-order, the slim keyboard, and I was able to also get a protective stand cover that basically, with the instant credit that they threw in, I basically paid $6 out of pocket for that one. But yeah, as far as the outer design, really not too different. The only thing I really noticed between this and last year's model was they cleaned up the antenna lines a little bit. There was an extra set of antenna lines on last year's model, and they've kind of cleaned that up a little bit. But overall, the rest of the design is the same if you're coming from last year's model. Again, 28 times 1752 resolution, AMOLED, Super AMOLED display, 120 hertz. So that's not any different. Down here you have your notches for your keyboard, pogo pins to connect to the keyboard. It connects directly, it's not Bluetooth. You have your 2 quad speakers on this side, tuned by AKG, microphone, power button volume rocker. The power button, like last year, there's no fingerprint display in that unless you had the non-plus variant. And then you have your micro SD slot, and this is where you can expand it up to 1 terabyte. You have another microphone right there. You have your USB-C charging port and 2 other quad speakers. On the back here, you have a section where your S Pen goes to charge your S Pen. Little bit of Samsung branding. It does look like they cleaned up the branding for like the AKG, because there used to be like kind of a big AKG logo. It is there still. It's very subtle though compared to last year's models. You have a flash, 13 megapixel camera, rear camera, and then a 6 megapixel wide angle lens camera. Then on the front, you have a 12 megapixel selfie camera that is mostly for doing like video calls or selfies. I don't know who's taking selfies with the tablet, but you can if you want. But I assume most people would probably be using that for video calls, but it can also be used for face unlock. And then the other method of unlocking the tablet is the in-display fingerprint reader, which is very responsive. As long as you don't miss it, unlocks very quickly. It's very accurate. The face unlock, hold on. Okay, that time it unlocked, but you basically have to be looking like right on it. And the lighting has to be very similar to the lighting when you set it up. So it doesn't seem to work as well as last year's model. And I know last year's model, I can swear they're on my tablet from last year from the S7 Non Plus. There's another little kind of, it wasn't a camera, but it was another like IR sensor that was on the side that kind of helped detect the face. That seems to not be in this variant. So like, unless you're facing right onto the camera, it just doesn't seem to be as accurate as last year. I've reset it up a couple times and it'll work well at first, but then, like I said, if you're not looking straight on at it, and if you're not in the same or similar lighting as how it was when you set it up, it just doesn't seem to work quite as well. So my primary method of unlocking the tablet has become this in-display fingerprint scanner. I was a little bit concerned coming from the physical fingerprint scanner that was here in the Tab S7 Non Plus model, and it seems like my concerns were largely unfounded. Overall, it's been very snappy and accurate. So I would recommend, if you're going to use a method to unlock the tablet as far as biometrics, just go with the fingerprint scanner in the display. It works good. It works like 99% of the time. There's a couple times it may not work. Usually it's because my thumbprint's wet or something. There's something wrong with my thumbprint, not the scanner itself. Like I said, you can set up the face unlock and it'll work sometimes, but it is not very accurate. Most of the time it has not been able to unlock every single time. Talking about the screen, I mentioned that this is a 120 hertz Super AMOLED display, 2800 by 1752 resolution. And of course, it is amazing. Looks, feels great, very snappy. I mean, part of that is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor, but the other part is that 120 hertz display. Unfortunately, they don't seem to have like the Pixel 6 line has with that adaptive brightness. where you can, or not adaptive brightness, but adaptive refresh rate, where basically if you're just keeping the tablet still and just like looking at one panel or screen, and then reducing the refresh rate to 60 hertz to kind of save on battery life. It either stays on 120 hertz, or you put it to where it goes down to 60 hertz to kind of save on that battery life. But it won't do both. It won't alternate between both. I think if I remember correctly, like you can set it motion smoothness. Yeah, so you can set it to high or standard. There's no in between. You can't set it to like 90 hertz. You can't set it to adaptive. It's just you either have it all the way on with the 120 hertz, or you have it all the way off in 60 hertz, but it's not going to look as smooth, but it'll save on your battery. So I don't know. It would have been nice if they had something either where you could kind of go middle of the road with the 90 hertz and kind of get a good balance of the battery life and the smoothness, but unfortunately it's only basically one or the other. That being said, it's a very good display. As you know, Samsung has some of the best displays, panels in the industry, at least when it comes to mobile devices. And this device is no different. It is very sharp, great contrast. Blacks look black, dark, and very vibrant. Colors really pop, and that shouldn't be surprising. HDR content looks amazing on this. So what I'm going to actually do is bring up some HDR YouTube content here and play a little bit of HDR YouTube content. But I'm going to pause the video very quickly. We'll get everything set up and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Try to readjust everything, try to reduce the glare as much as I could here. But we're going to play quickly a couple LG demo videos from YouTube that just sample HDR content. One is to kind of show off the color, overall color of the panel, and then the other one is going to show off blacks and contrast. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and roll that beautiful bean footage. So as you can see, content on this tablet looks and just looks amazing overall. I don't have the 4K version of Netflix, but I will say that this tablet is Widevine level 1 certified. So if you have the 4K subscription for Netflix, you will also have HDR support with that as well. But anything you play on this tablet is going to look amazing. And along with looking amazing, talking about audio, it's going to sound amazing. And I'm going to play a little bit of copyright-free music here. But just as I said before, the speakers here, they are quad speakers on each side, tuned by AKG. And honestly, the sound is just amazing. Some of the best sounding speakers I've heard on any tablet, and that includes iPads. My wife, she has the last gen iPad Air, and while her speakers sound good, they are nowhere near as good sounding as the speakers on this tablet. Much like the Galaxy Tab S7, just industry leading sound and speakers coming from this tablet. But like I said, I haven't heard the new iPad Pro speakers, but from the last gen iPad Pros and iPad Airs, these speakers sound and way better and are louder. And I'll play a little bit of music, a little bit of a sample so you can hear.
Computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
So this video may not do it any justice, but as I said before, these, the display just looks amazing and speakers sound amazing. Any media you consume with this tablet is just going to look and sound great. So if you're really big into media consumption, streaming videos, Netflix, YouTube, all of it is going to look and sound the best that it can sound pretty much on any mobile device. So next we'll move on talking about the S Pen, but let me get everything set up and I'm gonna pause the video and we'll be right back. So moving on to one of the other key aspects to this tablet and the experience that is the Tab series overall, and that is the S Pen. Now, unlike the S Pen found in the prior Note series and now the Ultra series of phones where it's a kind of pop-out stylus, this is a full stylus. But compared to the last Tab models, it's not too different than the previous iterations as far as in looks, appearance, overall dimensions. Everything's pretty much the same as last year's model. However, that's not to say nothing is improved with this tablet. And what has really improved with the S Pen experience is now that they have managed to reduce the latency from the time between when when you make a motion on the screen to now actually registering on the panel. They've reduced the latency down to 2.6 seconds. All right. And that's been reduced now from what was prior 7.8 milliseconds. Sorry, 2.6 milliseconds, not 2.6 seconds. So it's been reduced from 7.8 milliseconds to 2.6 seconds. And at first I was kind of dubious, like how noticeable that would be. Well, let me tell you something. It is quite noticeable. It's very noticeable. It just feels and looks better as you are drawing. And it is almost instantaneous. When you go across the screen, the panel, it just registers almost immediately. And it looks and just feels so good while you're writing. Feels very natural, very fluid. And I'm gonna be honest, I have not usually been one that's really been for using digital styluses or pens, and this has really made me a believer compared to prior digital styluses and pens that I've come from, to include the Microsoft Surface. I had the Microsoft Surface 7, and I still have that one. And while that one is a very nice digital pen, the Microsoft one, it does not feel as good in the hands, and it is not near as fast registering as you're writing. This just feels so natural, and something about the way the tip feels, it just is really a great writing experience. I, even on my Tab S7, was never really one for digital note-taking, at least not with the S Pen. And this has really gotten me to where I have actually been using it a lot more with this tablet. But it is only included on this model and the S8 Ultra. It is not on the S8 Non Plus version. So if you're hoping for that reduced latency, you will need to either purchase this one or the largest S8 Ultra in order to get that feature. But like I said, I have really taken to writing on this with the responsiveness and the accuracy. It is just, it feels really good. And then a lot of the features that have been present in the previous versions of their apps, their note-taking apps, are still here as well. For example, I am not the neatest note taker, so I sometimes need someone to translate my chicken scratch. So if I was taking a note, I would take my note, and then I could transliterate that to text. So then I would just select that, translate to text. It'll tell you convert or copy, and then you can convert it. See there, it kind of put a little bit of a space there. So it's not always perfect. Sometimes it's actually done it just the way I wrote it, and but it doesn't always work. But I think that's more due to the fact that I just have very messy handwriting, especially when I'm writing quickly. When I'm taking notes quickly, my handwriting tends to suffer. But I've found, even with my chicken scratches, it's been able to do very well at actually transliterating to text. One of the other things you can do, there's a lot of other things you can do with this. See here, it tells you air actions for media. Single press will play or pause if you're playing a video. Double press will play the next track. gestures, volume up, volume down. You could play the previous track. You can use this in YouTube. I've used it in presentations, PowerPoint, and it's been able to go back and forth to the slides, whether I single press or double press. Every app has different settings, but you can set it however you want in each individual app with your air motions. Another cool feature is the screen write. So what it does is it takes a screenshot and then you can write on it. And then you could send that, save it. I'm going to go ahead and save it, but if you wanted to, you could send it. Some of the other features, there's an included suite of apps. For example, PenUp. PenUp is simply a digital art app. Let's see here. But you can, just kind of do digital art in here. I've seen a lot of really good looking stuff just using this app and this tablet. Overall, it's very impressive what you can actually do in the included software with this S Pen. And I mean, if you're doing professional digital art or computer graphics or something like that, you're probably going to have something a little bit more high tech, like a Wacom or Bamboo drawing tablet or something like that. But if you were traveling and you were on the go and you wanted to touch up or do some digital art, you could definitely capably do some very, very, good looking artwork as seen in some of the stuff people had done and submitted through this app. And then there's other apps that you can either download. Some are free in the Samsung store, and then there's some of them you may have to pay for in the Play Store. But it's actually amazing just how much you can do just with this little S Pen. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I've found myself using this a lot more, not just for note taking, but using it for, digital air motions compared to the Tab S7, where a lot of times I was just basically using it as a digital stylus so I wouldn't have to touch the screen. Moving on to the software. Overall, the software here, just to go over just an overview of the software on this tablet. This tablet is running Samsung OneUI 4.1, and what that is Samsung's version of Android 12. So it does have the latest version of Android on this. And they just recently put out another software update, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in the gaming and performance section, but they've added some things here. But even before this latest update, like, they've been very on top of, putting in security patches. This is running on February security patch as of this last update. So the security patch is only 1 month back from the latest and greatest that the Pixel 6 line is running. But what's really impressive is what Samsung has done with their version of the software. First off, I want to say the customizations that they have added here really add to the software experience. So while it doesn't feel just like stock Android, it's added a lot of things that really enhance the overall experience of this tablet. But one thing I'm really glad they changed with OneUI 4.1 is that now they've added where now if you swipe right, it now brings up your Google Discover instead of the Samsung Free app, which Samsung Free was kind of Samsung's version, very poorly done in my opinion. I don't know, maybe there were some people that liked Samsung Free, but I was not one of them, and I don't think most people I know really cared for it. But they have added now just your Google Discover feed, which is based off your interests, and it brings up a news feed that you can customize and based off your interest. But basically, your other devices that are running Android are now going to bring up, it's going to bring up that same kind of customized experience that is a lot closer to stock Android. Overall, I am very glad that they have shifted to this instead of Samsung Free, because Samsung Free was terrible, it was slow, it was laggy, it didn't feed into my interest on Google and my web browsing interests, and so overall I just really did not like it. And it just wasn't a good app and it wasn't a good experience. So I'm glad they shifted to that. But what's really neat is the customizations that they've made here. And a lot of these customizations are customizations that benefit large screens and tablets. A lot of these customizations are not even in the latest stock version of Android 12. They're features that are coming in Android 12L, which is Google's version of Android 12 that is going to be customized and tailored for large screens, tablets, and foldables. For example, you drag down on the notification shade, and depending on where you drag down, that's where your quick setting shade will come down. So instead of just coming down in the center, if I swipe down here, that's where my quick settings are going to come down. It's a little thing, it's not a big deal, but it's nice. It's a nice addition that really helps that experience. So I don't just feel like I'm just running large version Android on a big screen, Some other things that they've added that really enhance the experience, especially with the 12.4 inch screen on this, and probably I would say also the 14 inch screen on the Samsung Galaxy S8 Ultra, is now how they handle full screen and split screen. And they have also added something called pop-up windows. Now, they've had pop-up windows in the past on Samsung DeX, and I'll get to that in a minute, but that was like their desktop mode. But now, even in the normal tablet mode, there is all kinds of customizations. For example, you bring up the internet. Let me close that out. Okay. And now you have your little shade here. You pick a split screen and then you bring up YouTube, and then you can then be on YouTube and be on, the internet with split screen. You can resize it. And you may say, well, Josh, we've had that since Android 8.0, which I would agree with you. Since Oreo, they've had split screen since Android Oreo, back when they had it named after desserts. You're correct. But now, now you can basically do that. But say I want a third app open. Well, I can make my calculator a pop-up. Okay, so I make it a pop-up, and then it makes a little pop-up bubble. And then I go back to my full screen, and then I have a pop-up. So then I can move the pop-up and do that. I can close that. If I wanted to make a note, I can now have my note open right there, take notes, have my other two apps open in full screen, and take a note. And you can have multiple pop-ups open, and then you can just turn them into little pop-up windows, which you do by, well, there I maximized it, right? Didn't mean to do that. But you can minimize it, and it turns back into a pop-up. You can also do it from here, where open in pop-up view, and now you'll have a group of pop-ups. So it's actually very, very handy when it comes to multitasking. It's very useful. Very, took a little bit of getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's actually very intuitive, and you can open up as much pop-ups. If you have multiple ones, what it'll do is make a little kind of cluster or sub little window of pop-ups, kind of like when you have your icons on your desktop, and then you can open up that little subfolder and then open up whatever pop-up you want. So overall, it's really helpful when it comes to multitasking, and it really enhances the experience for a large screen experience here. Again, I think there's a lot that they can do developer-wise to, by developer, I mean app developer-wise, to kind of enhance your experiences for full screen. And I also think there's a lot that they can do to kind of enhance the overall tablet experience. But a lot of that is now more so on the developers than it is on the on Samsung here. The other thing I talked about was Dex mode. Now, Dex mode is Samsung's desktop mode, and basically it allows it to go into basically a desktop. I have a Bluetooth keyboard here, and I could use that, and I can open up little pop-up windows. Now, this has been around for a while. This is nothing new. Overall, they've just kind of enhanced the experience compared to previous versions, and it's just a lot quicker, snappier. With the extra RAM that they've included on this model, you can have a lot more windows open without any kind of slowdown here. There's no slowdown. The windows open immediately. A lot of times you don't even have to wait for them to load now. Whereas with the previous model with 6 gigabytes, sometimes there would be a little bit of load in, a little bit of pop in with the apps between windows. But now it's instant, and you can definitely run even more windows with no slowdown. And it might just be me, but it just seems with this faster processor, it definitely loads in and out of Samsung Dex a lot quicker. Just something else that, again, was already existent on the prior line, and now they've just kind of refined that experience. But overall, the software is really great. I found it to just be very smooth, very bug-free. I've really had no issues with it. It's very fast. Everything feels great and snappy. Between the animations, I think, and the speed of the processor and the hardware itself, everything has been very smooth and optimized in this tablet software-wise. I think they just need to now get on board. App developers need to get on board. They are starting now to bring over a lot of professional creativity and productivity apps. I just think now it's more on app developers, but I think with what Samsung has done here, both with this tablet and the S8 Ultra, now a lot of app developers and software developers, to include Google, are starting to take tablets seriously as a kind of productivity workhorse, a creative workhorse that can do a lot of things that a lot of computers can do. Part of this is due to, a lot of people working from home during COVID, but I think a lot of this also is what Samsung has done. And I think even Google can take a lot of notes here from Samsung with what they've done with their software to optimize the tablet experience, optimize the large screen experience, kind of bring that kind of creativity and productivity features to it. We're nowhere near where we were or where the App Store is as far as app support, large screen support, and just overall optimizations for large screens. But I would say Samsung is definitely bridged the gap here as far as their software goes compared to Apple. And there's a lot of things that this software can do that Apple can't do even on the iPad Pro line. but they have definitely started to add features that where now they're kind of trading blows with features and software. I just think we need to get the Play Store and a lot of app support brought on board, but it's definitely getting there. Next, we're going to move on talking about gaming and a little bit of gaming. Before I get to the gaming, one other thing about the software and new support with this is battery life and battery charging. I haven't done a video torture test yet, but I did do some testing here. Overall, so when I was charging it, one note about the charging is that they do not include a charger with this tablet, which is really unfortunate. Last year's tablet had a charger. I honestly don't like this trend where they've kind of started to do this trend of phones and tablets not coming with chargers, and then you pay like $900 to $1,000 and they don't include a charger, which to me doesn't make sense. This is a $900 tablet, at retail price, not with trade-ins, not with discounts, anything like that. This retails for $900 at the base model. It should at least include a charger. They've now changed this charger. It now is able to support warp charging. I believe the stock charger that Samsung sells is a 45-watt warp charger. I will tell you though, your charger from your old device, if you still have it, if you didn't, trade it in when you traded in your device, our third-party warp chargers actually will work. I actually used a third-party charger from OnePlus. It was a 65 warp charger from my OnePlus 8T 5G. That charger is able to support the very fast charging or warp charging. When it's charging, if it says charging very fast or very rapidly, that means that it is actually supporting the warp charging. Now, about screen on time here, 2 hours, 4 minutes currently. I'm at 72%. I would say roughly you're going to get somewhere maybe 10-ish hours. The standby time, 4 hours, 29 minutes. On average, though, mixed usage, gaming, web browsing, YouTube video watching, standby, I typically get 2 days out of a full charge. And it says a full charge will last about 2 days, 2 hours. That's the minimum I've gotten. On average, I've gotten 2 days and 12 hours, or 2 days and almost 3 days, honestly. But that's like the long end of the spectrum, very light usage. I was doing a lot of gaming this morning, and my apps kind of the games tend to run down the battery pretty quickly. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, from what I've seen so far, part of this is the larger display, but even with this large 10,800 milliamp battery, it does seem to eat battery pretty quickly. 2 days, I'll have to charge it. I haven't done a torture test. I haven't done like just a constantly running test to see what it is. I'll do that for my follow-up long-term review, and I'll let you guys know. But overall, I'm estimating somewhere between 10 to 12 hours on a charge. If that's just you just using it, you're watching videos, web browsing, all that stuff with no standby time. So yeah, I was playing for about an hour on my game, and that kind of wore down the battery quite a bit. Not quite as power efficient with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 compared to the Snapdragon 865. But still, battery life is pretty good. With the quick charge, it kind of softens the blow a little bit, because with the warp charger that I used from OnePlus, that 65 watt warp charger, I was able to charge this in just under an hour and a half, which is very impressive for a 10,800 milliamp battery. I don't know. I'll have to kind of see and mess with it a little bit more to get a better estimate, but I've been having to charge it on average every other day. So next we're going to move on to benchmarks. And I mentioned this chip, it is a little bit more power hungry compared to the Snapdragon 865 but I will say, in fairness to it, it gets a huge amount of performance in certain areas compared to the last gen Snapdragon 865 Plus in the Tab S7. So running the Geekbench 5 benchmark, this was on my Tab S7. I was getting 3062 multi-core and a single core of 928, which isn't bad. It's very impressive, actually. But now going to the new Tab S8 Plus with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, we were getting an increase from 3028 to 3238. Not a huge bump, not too spectacular. About a 6% bump in improvement, not too great. But the single core score now bumped up to 1206, which is overall about a 30-ish% increase in performance. So very impressive. But that's not the whole picture. I wanted to talk now about the GPU compute performance in Geekbench 5, and this is on the Vulkan benchmark. The last gen Tab S7 had 3698. Still a very good score, very impressive, right? But going to now, the Tab S8 Plus now bumps up to 6119, which is a huge bump in performance, a huge boost. Doing the math, it's roughly 167% increase in GPU compute performance. Going to a more gaming-oriented benchmark, we're looking at 3D Mark Wildlife here, and here we had a result of 8597. Sorry, first let me show you what the Tab S7 had with the 865 Plus. It had 4289 with FPS score 25.7. Very impressive. Again, this is a very demanding gaming-oriented test. But now, in the Tab S8 Plus, it went to 51.5 and 8597, which roughly translated to a 203% increase in performance. So yes, with that additional power consumption, there actually is a very impressive increase in performance. We're looking at, on the GPU side, roughly anywhere between about 170 to 200+% increase in performance, and the single core had an increase of at least 30%, which is great. It's very good. I do wish the power efficiency was a little bit better. It's not going to be anywhere near power efficiency of the Apple M1 chip, and it's not going to be quite as good performance, although the GPU performance has definitely bridged the gap. In fact, compared to not the M1 chip, but the last gen A15 chip, Bionic, it is nipping at the heels of performance, especially when it comes to single core score and the GPU performance. I do wish that they got the kind of power consumption and the heat down, because this does run a little bit warm. Not so much in this tablet, but in other phones I've seen and other devices, it definitely runs hot, and the power consumption, of course, with that heat is definitely increased. And it's just one of those factors that happens. I'm going to pause the video here, and I'm going to get things set up. We're going to show a little bit of gaming performance, and then we will talk about camera, and we'll go to our conclusion. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. And we have now got everything set up. We're going to do a little bit of gaming here. Just run through what games I'm going to go through and test here. I'm going to test COD Mobile. Not the most demanding game, but it is a popular game. Still one of the, top 5, top 10 most popular games as far as in the Play Store on Android. I'm going to test out Forgotten Memories, which is more of a niche title, but is a very demanding game. Kind of survival horror game with very good tuning of graphical options. So there's a lot of graphics options that you can enable that really test out that GPU. And then the last game I'm going to test is Dead Cells, which also is not necessarily the most challenging game, but it is a game that does support unlimited or unlocked frame rate. So you are going to see that 120 hertz display in action. You're going to see that 120 FPS able to be fully utilized on the display. And then finally, I'm going to show some game streaming with Game Pass. And so that being said, we'll go over each game, show the performance, and you can see for yourself. But as indicated by the benchmarks, right, performance should be expected to be pretty good. However, benchmarks are not the whole picture, and certainly are only indicative of performance, but do not necessarily show off what you can expect completely with actual real-world performance. There's a lot of things that take into effect, optimizations for chipsets, graphics drivers, and all of these are factors, along with heat, throttling, things like that, that are caused by extended gameplay sessions. I will do more gameplay in a later video. I wanted to talk about gameplay and emulation with a lot more games. But that being said, I'm just going to test these 3 games so you can see how they perform, and the game streaming so you can see what to expect with that, and then we'll go from there. So the first game we're going to be testing out is COD Mobile. And if you can't see right there, I have my little performance indicator. Oh, one other thing to make note of here, let me turn that down just a bit, but this also is running with, I'll show you, this has the latest update that now allows you to disable the game optimizing services and put in basically alternate performance mode. Where is it? You go to Game Booster. So in Game Booster, you go to Labs, and now I have alternate game performance management. So basically it's going to allow me to get the maximum performance out of this, whereas before it was kind of limiting it. Samsung said that this was due to battery optimizations and heat management, okay? But it wasn't doing it in the benchmarks. So then you'd get these, really great benchmark scores, and everyone's like, oh wow, look, this is what I can expect when gaming. Again, benchmarks are not going to show you everything, and they are only going to be indicative of performance. So, but that being said, we're going to move on. And we'll go here. And what we're going to do is practice versus AI. I'm playing with my Xbox controller. Oh, and let's talk about settings, our settings. Graphics settings, audio and graphics. We have everything max, game frame rate max, which still doesn't take advantage of my 120 hertz display. And then the only thing I don't have enabled is God Ray, because if you have anti-aliasing on, you can't have God Ray on. So you can only have one or the other, and that's a limitation of the game, not a limitation of the hardware. Now right now in the menu it says 30 FPS, but when we get in game it's going to go to 60 FPS. Hopefully I don't get slammed by bots. Uh-oh. Okay, now I can move. Last time we was playing this, I was having issues. So we're running at 60 FPS. Oh, here goes my controller again. "60 FPS, GPU is running at 73, 78% utilization. So it is getting a little bit of a load, but it's definitely not, you know, tapping out the power of the GPU. Again, this is not the most, you know, demanding game, but at the same token, when you're playing multiplayer, you don't really want to be running super high graphics. You want a smooth experience, and this definitely delivers on it. I honestly wish that they would add an update to allow for 120 FPS refresh rate support, so that you could get that kind of full experience. I'm gonna have to pick up a gun because I have no ammo. Where did this guy go? Okay, got a new gun. Temps are definitely good on this. I'm not seeing them really exceed. Oh, that's my guy. Don't want to shoot him. Yikes, that reload time. Yeah, I'm seeing it go up to 80%. The temps are staying really, really smooth. All right. So now he's gonna help me. Supposed to. The bad thing about fighting bots is your bot teammates are not very good either. Okay? And I got shot. Lost my rocket launcher. Yeah, overall, I'm seeing like, on average, between 70% to 80% GPU utilization. The temps are staying great. They're staying around 32 degrees Celsius, which is very cool. Not too hot. All right, now I got my grenade launcher. Missing with the grenade launcher, not very good. Okay. Is this going all the way to 50? I think so. And unfortunately, my teammates are not killing very many people. Oh, ran out of ammo. Let's grab this guy's weapon. Okay. Oh, we got enemies behind me. I really have not seen... Geez, this controller is killing me. There's like definitely drift. I might need to replace my Xbox controller. I know if I lose, I'm definitely going to blame my controller. It's not my fault. Not my lack of skill or me trying to talk on this video. It's my controller. Okay. And it's, see that? It's just, it's still drifting. I don't know what's going on. Alright, got my grenade launcher. Killed them. Only got a few more kills. And this... Jeez. I killed myself with the grenade launcher. No, that one was definitely my fault. Oh, I got a kill streak perk. I got one. I was hoping to get more. I like to get them clustered up. Alright, come on, 4 more. My bot teammates are definitely doing no favors for me. Oh gosh, it's still walking. I was definitely not pressing on the control stick there. Am I gonna get the kill cam? I got the kill cam. I got the kill cam. I better get MVP. All right, so yeah, I mean, between trying to talk on the video and play and monitor performance, but overall, like, it really never went below 60 FPS at any time, which obviously this should definitely be able to play this game. All right, I got the MVP. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're gonna close that out. Moving on to the next game, Forgotten Memories. So this game is like a spooky kind of survival horror. Make that invisible there. It has a lot of graphics options. It is, I don't remember how much it costs on the App Store, but it's overall a really good game. If you like Resident Evil and Silent Hill and stuff like that, like, you'll definitely like this game. Okay. We're going to continue. Okay. Let's go over our options here, kind of show. All right, so we have display resolution at 100%. So think about that. This thing is, its resolution is 2800 at 1752. So it's rendering a lot of pixels. This is not at 1080p. You can definitely scale it down though. 60 FPS, brightness. I have MSA off. It is very taxing, all right? But this has like actual multi-sample anti-aliasing. I have the anti-aliasing FX enabled. High dynamic range lighting, also very taxing. Bloom effects, dynamic shadows, mirror reflections, high quality water effects, dirt and noise effects on. The rest is kind of just like more so like just the way it looks more so than anything else. Okay, so we're running at 60% or 60 frames per second. GPU is running at roughly 80 to 83, but it does get up to 97%. So this game definitely does peg out that GPU. I will say what's weird is even though I put it on maximum performance, my temps are running very good. We're still below 40 degrees Celsius, but after playing this game for a while, it will get up over 40 degrees Celsius, and I've seen it get up even up to 44. Still very safe for this chip. The monitoring app will tell you that it's like pegging out at 44, but that's due to internal limits from Samsung. Not like this chip's actual hard temperature limit is actually 55 degrees Celsius before it starts hard throttling down. Okay, so we're just walking around here, but overall, like, this is I'm seeing the lowest it dipped down. It dips down to 47 to 40 sometimes when it's loading in between areas, but it is for the most part staying around. It's mostly staying around, 60-ish FPS. See, it dips down to 40 as it loads in. Overall, very smooth experience, like I said. And this is like a game that honestly has really like console quality graphics. Okay, but yeah, overall it's very smooth, very runs very well. All right, and then the last game I'm going to play here is Dead Cells, and we're going to run this game, and then we'll talk about a couple more things, and then we'll wrap up here. This game is a port of PC and console version. It supports unlocked frame rates, so let's look at the options here. Video, FPS cap none, so it's going to play at 120 FPS. High resolution, bright flashes, effects. Screen shake is more kind of just a preference thing. All right, so right now, if you can't see my FPS counter, it is running between 110 to 120 FPS. As you can see, I'm about to die. I was not doing very good on this playthrough. This is when I was filming this earlier. Okay. But overall, this is playing very smoothly. It's definitely able to push that 120 hertz display, even with all the effects and high resolution mode on. And this game, this is one of those games that really does take advantage of kind of, you know, that fast refresh rate. It is one of those kind of Twitch games that runs very fast paced. So it definitely, you know, gets that advantage of that high refresh rate because it really fits with the gameplay style of this game. Overall, seeing here, the GPU is going up to about 74-75% on average. Temps are staying around 36 degrees Celsius, so our temps look good. Some reason I have not activated that ability, even though I swore I had in the past. So but overall, running very smooth. All right, so we'll go ahead and quit that one there, and then we're going to do some game streaming. But this tablet really benefits from that display. You know, that 120 hertz display. This game really benefits from it. All right, finally, we're going to do Game Pass. We're only going to play one game on this. Just a note, so my main router is downstairs. I have a internet mesh system, and I have one of those net devices up here, but it's not in this room. It's in the master bedroom next to me. So this is not even like a super optimized setup. This is actually probably closer to what would be a realistic setup, where you may not be in the same room as the main modem. So a lot of times, you know, a lot of devices, like, you'll have to be right by the router, have super fast internet, super, you know, low latency lag on your internet for it to really work with the game streaming. They have definitely improved Game Pass and the game streaming, xCloud, whatever they call it now. Okay. Dip down a little bit. It's running between 57, 55 FPS. We're going to skip so you can watch me get slammed. Okay. Right now they blew away my cover. Uh-oh. I got killed. It's definitely a lot harder to do when you're like filming and you're trying to play and try to watch performance. So, I gotta go get ammo. Hopefully I don't die. And he got me with a grenade, so that's cool. And I'm dead. Anyways, lowest I saw that go down to was 50 FPS. So honestly, really a very good performance. Not my playing, but at least the performance of streaming on this device is very good. So a little minor kind of downscaling of resolution to kind of keep that frame rate up, but overall the picture quality and the play was very, very impressive. So as you can see, The gaming performance on this is amazing. I mean, this thing can play almost anything you throw at it. And it's really going to be just an ideal experience, whether you're streaming games or actually playing games natively on Android. One thing I wanted to touch on before we wrap up, why did it go to that? I did not open Game Pass. Let's close all. All right, so talking about the camera, I am not a big, camera photo, connoisseur, and I'm definitely not a great believer in taking pictures with a tablet, okay? But the camera on this is actually surprisingly capable. All right, here's a picture I took with the selfie cam. This was not like super high lighting conditions. It had, sufficient light. But overall, it looked pretty good for a selfie cam taken with a tablet. That's the 12 megapixel camera. Here's some pictures of my goodest boy, Dakota, and this is my doggo. Again, we had a lot better light in this situation. That was taken with the rear 13 megapixel main camera. But overall, it looks very good. Very good contrast, detail. Don't expect anything like, you're going to get with these flagship phones, but it's a tablet. And if you need to take a picture of a document or even take a picture of something on the fly, you can. This also has the ability to take 4K 30 FPS video. I don't know who these mad lads are that are taking 4K video with tablets, but if you want to, the ability's there. Here's another one I took with the rear camera, close-up shot. Very good contrast. You can read everything on the can, and it was able to take sharp-looking pictures even close up. So again, if you needed to take a picture of a document, you definitely could. Finally, I'm going to display, that's a screenshot from my game, I'm going to display how the selfie cam looks and sounds for video call, because to me, with that selfie cam, probably the main use case you're going to use it for is video calls, Zoom conference calls, things like that. At least that's how I envision it. So we'll play it. This is a sample of the selfie cam when doing video calls, how it sounds and looks. Overall, not too bad, especially for a tablet. So overall, the video quality was very good. Actually, definitely noticeable, looked better than my prior Samsung Tab S7. And it's honestly better than a lot of webcams that I've seen even on some gaming laptops. So it is definitely an impressive camera. I want to say that camera is able to film at 1080p. So your video calls can be done at 1080p. It's not going to take as high resolution as the S8 Ultra. The S8 Ultra has an even better camera for selfies, and you're able to do video calls in 4K. Again, I don't know why you would need to do that, but you can also do widescreen video calls on that tablet. That capacity is not available on this tablet, but this will definitely be able to get the job done. Finally, just going into final thoughts and conclusion. As I've said, I've had this tablet for 3 weeks, and I'm already just completely sold on it. It is easily, hands down, the best tablet I have used ever, and that's saying a lot. Just the software experience, the hardware, the optimizations that they've done here, the improvements that they've made from the last gen, I think is just very, very impressive. It is a flagship tablet, and you get a flagship experience on this. The display looks great. Audio is amazing. If you want to consume content, this will look and sound as good as you're going to get on a tablet. And it's honestly just been a great experience. Gaming and performance is great. I will say with all that performance, there is a hit when it comes to battery life. And I will say the thermals have improved with this latest update, but it's still going to run a tad toasty. Not as warm as, say, this same chipset in the S22 devices or even other flagship devices running this chipset. Samsung has done a very good job of keeping temps in check. Some of that, they limited performance. But even with the new update, you can now remove that, and performance has definitely increased, and the temps have still stayed very good and under control. As you could see from my gaming sessions, temps really never got over 40 degrees Celsius. So overall, very impressive with what they've done. I will say Samsung DeX is still very good, and with the improvements they've made with OneUI 4.1, you really get the maximum benefit out of this large display. Do I recommend upgrading? So that's kind of a trickier question, and it really depends. If you're coming from the Tab S7 like I am, then it's a no-brainer. The larger display, the AMOLED display, the improvements with Samsung One UI 4.1, the improvements with the S Pen and the latency decrease definitely make this a no-brainer. If you're coming from a Tab S7 Non Plus or even an earlier version Tab S6, then this is going to be an amazing upgrade for you. Now, if you're coming from the S7 Plus, the design of this tablet has not changed very much at all. The good news about that is if you do upgrade, all of your peripherals will still work with this tablet because the size is the exact same. Dimensions are the same on the outside. What's changed is the inside. They've improved performance, they've increased performance, and it's much better, much smoother, reduced latency on the S Pen. Everything's been just much snappier. I think overall, it depends. If you need that extra power, if you need that extra performance, if you take a lot of notes or you're creative and you want that reduced latency with the S Pen and you want that additional bump, 30% in single core performance, or you need that extra graphical horsepower, either for gaming or productivity apps that are going to use that horsepower, then yes, this is going to be a tablet that is going to be for you. But if you don't, and it's mostly for content consumption, you do a little bit of, desktop work, but you're not a power user, I think you'll be okay with the Tab S7 Plus. It is still a great tablet, even though it's last gen. It is still an amazing tablet. It's still very snappy. The performance is great. Now, if this is your first tablet in the tablet space, as far as Android tablet space, I don't think you can go wrong with this tablet. It is just the best tablet experience you're going to get. And you may ask, well, what about the S8 Ultra? Well, I don't really see that as a tablet per se, as more a laptop replacement. With the size of it and with everything else, with how big it is and all the power features it has, to me, it really strikes me as more of a laptop replacement that happens to be an Android tablet. This can function as a laptop in, certain instances, and you can do productivity work, you can do creativity work, but you can also use it like a tablet. You can hold it with one hand and it's not going to cramp your hands. Whereas that S8 Ultra is mostly probably going to stay in the keyboard or in a stand. That's it. That's my thoughts on it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, leave a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the video, leave a thumbs down. Granted, people can't see that you left a thumbs down, so why don't you leave a comment? Let me know what I can improve to make the next video better. If you want to see more content like that, to include future gaming performance videos, accessories roundup, when I get my keyboard, I'm going to get the official keyboard and I'll compare it to the unofficial keyboard cases, and we'll do a roundup. But if you want to see more content for this tablet and other devices, other tech reviews, make sure you click subscribe. This is Josh at Tryin' Tech, signing out. Peace.
I've been drinking all this lean, I know I need to stop. Hopping out of stolen cars and we shoot chops.